Welcome back to another episode of With a Grain of Salt. I'm your host, Isaiah Salter, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in for yet another week. Super excited to be back, and this episode is going to be a little bit different than the ones before. The ones before, I come in with notes, and I kind of know what the topic of the episode is going to be on. But this one, I have one of my first journals ever here. Right here. This was my first journal that I got when I was really going through that transformation period in my life, that really, dark period in my life, that growth period in my life. And then I have this deck of cards by one of my favorite creators, Hines, and this is just reminders, and he has 33 reminders in here. And then I have one of my favorite books, which is Amazing Possibilities by Matthew Kelly, which is 365 Days of Inspiration. And so what I thought is we're just going to reflect. We're going to take this one easy. We're going to go through all three and find things that we just want to kind of touch on, just to give some encouragement or reminders for your journey. I think we've been, really moving in the right direction with this podcast, with this community. You guys have been moving in the right direction, and I can feel it. And I think, a lot of times, along your journey, when you're continuing to show up, continuing to take steps, you got to have certain points where you just pause and you reflect. You reflect on gratitude. You reflect on all the things that you've, overcome. You reflect on how far you've, progressed over the last few months or years. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to celebrate ourselves today, but we're also going to reflect. We're going to reflect on our journeys, and we're going to have a good time doing it. And it's going to be peaceful. It's going to be at a divine pace. We're not going to rush. We're going to take our time, right? We're going to take our time. And we're going to start off with the cards. So, I love this. I don't know if you guys can see. My voice is always doing this. It's a beautiful design. Shout out to my man, Hines. It's a beautiful design. Beautiful design. I love it. And these cards are something I go back to all the time when I just need a reminder or a little seed of encouragement, whatever it may be. So, what I always like to do is I always like to, shuffle them and then just pick one randomly and let's just chop it up about it. So that's what we're going to do. And for people who are listening, obviously I'll read the card out and then you can go watch it on YouTube if you want to see what the cards actually look like. So we're going to just pick one and we'll see what we get. But I'm feeling this one right here. So we'll do that. Boom. Come on. This first card says, this is a beautiful way to start. This is a beautiful way to start. I'm going to show y'all what the card looks like. And I dropped it, of course. Y'all know on this podcast, we always dropping stuff. So that's the front of the card. This is the back. The front says, we can't control what happens, but we can control how we respond. That's beautiful. The back says, I am more than what I feel. My emotions are just emotions. I am not anger. I am not anxiety. I may experience these energies as a way to grow and learn. I can't always control what happens, but I am in control of my reaction. Observe your emotions with grace, my friend. That is beautiful. That is beautiful because I think so often, when we go through certain experiences or certain things happen to us in the external world, we allow our emotions to dictate how we react to the situation rather than taking the stance of the observer, right? I'm going to observe this situation and how I'm feeling without the need to do anything, without the need to be so quick to judge, right? And you're already putting yourself in the seat of making an aligned response rather than an unaligned reaction. And that's incredibly important because as you go on this journey, as you continue to grow and develop, one of the main things that is going to truly, truly start to transform your life is when you start to master your emotions, right? And not in the sense of you're trying to control how you feel. You're not trying to control how you think or any of that. But you're becoming the master of them. You're taking them out of the driver's seat and you're taking the steering wheel and you're saying, yes, I might feel this way, but I'm going to make an aligned response, right? I'm going to make an aligned response. And just taking that stance and having that awareness through those experiences can help you so much to navigate when things maybe don't go your way, when something happens externally, maybe with another person or a certain event, and it might steer you the wrong way. And before, you would have been so quick to just get up and react. But now you take pause between the experience and the response. And that pause is called awareness. And once you start bringing awareness to everything that you're doing and you pause before you're just so quick to react, you're going to see your life start to change. You're going to see the same things that once used to drive you crazy or make you go left. You're going to start seeing them different and navigating them different just because you've brought awareness and you've done the inner work that's allowed you to take that pause, right? It's a process, right? And this is the importance of having grace, right? He said that at the end, observe your emotions with grace, because there are going to be times, because we're all human, where your emotions do get the best of you. And maybe you do react in a way that you're trying not to anymore. You're trying to get away from. We're not going to beat ourselves up about that. We're going to reflect on it. Okay, why did I react like that in this situation? How can I learn from my reaction? And how can I take the next right step? Give yourself grace. I always use this analogy because I think it's so important along your journey of growth, of personal development, your spiritual journey, your emotional journey, all that. Take the stance of, how would you speak to a kid who is trying to learn how to ride a bike for the first time? If every time that kid fell off the bike, you were so quick to yell at them or beat them down or say they're no good, they're never going to want to get back on the bike, right? They're never going to want to get back on the bike, and you just stunted their growth. It's the same with yourself. As you're trying to grow, as you're trying to unlearn, old habits, let go of old ways of thinking and navigating things, right? You're not going to be perfect, and you will fall down. You will fall off the bike, but you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself grace, because it's that grace that allows you to get back up and try again. Get back up and try again, right? And that's the process of growth. It's not about doing everything perfect. It's not about getting on the bike one time and being able to ride perfectly. No, it's about having the courage to get on the bike and fall down, reflect, and get back on and try again, right? And through that, you slowly start to create momentum, and then one day you're riding the bike gracefully, and the amount of times you fall off diminishes a lot or decreases a lot, right? And that's the process of growth. But if you don't give yourself that grace and compassion, every time you make a mistake, every time you fall down, every time you react and let your emotions get the best of you, you're going to beat yourself up into being stuck there. You're going to beat yourself out of growth, right? Remember that you cannot shame or guilt yourself into growth. You cannot shame or guilt yourself into growth. So whenever, and this is the importance of reflection and awareness, whenever you're starting to, take steps in a new direction or try to grow in a certain area, anytime shame or guilt or self-judgment comes up, understand that's just your ego. That's just your inner child. And I need to parent that the way I would a kid trying to learn how to ride a bike for the first time, right? Understand you are not your shame. You are not the guilt. You are not the self-judgment. You are the awareness behind it. So you have to choose how to respond to those emotions rather than feeling like you are those emotions. And then that internalizes as a lack of self-worth or you're doing something wrong. No, you are not. You are a human being. You are going to feel all the emotions. It's about learning how to navigate and transform the relationship we have with our emotions so that we can start to move gracefully in the aligned direction. Come on. It's a great first card. I'm going to leave it right there. Let's do another one. That just gave me so much peace, you know what I mean, with your emotions. Understanding you're not your emotions. You're the parent to your emotions, right? Your inner child is the one that feels the emotions, right? And you need to be able to parent your inner child through the situations and the way it feels, right? I'm going to start closing my eyes. Take a breath. Here's a breathing exercise that I want you guys to try. When you're breathing and you just need a deep breath, think of having nostrils on your heart and breathe through those heart nostrils, right? Already. That just helped already. Okay. So, let's pick one. I'm feeling this one right here. see what it says. I love these cars, man. I don't know if I checked a few weeks back and they were all sold out on his website, so you guys can go check. But this is a beautiful car, man. Come on, man. Come on. It says, it takes sacrifice to have a deeper relationship with self. That's what the front looks like. The back says, at times we may have to let go of people or habits that no longer serve us. This is not a loss, it's an opportunity. Take a seat and have an interview with yourself today. A seat at the table with your soul. There is so much more to you than you even know. But it takes sacrifice to have a deeper relationship with yourself. Man, oh man. That's 2 for 2. Back to back. It takes sacrifice. You have to be willing to sacrifice the known to step into what is for you, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice some comfort to step into what is for you, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice certain relationships to step in to what is for you. But understand, sacrifice does not mean a loss. It means an opportunity. Most people correlate sacrifice like you have to let go of something and it's going to take from you. But no, it's really letting go of the things that aren't for you so you can step into the things that are for you. The sacrifice is sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice your ego because your ego wants to stay attached to all those things. Are you willing to make those sacrifices in order to step into what is for you, in order to grow the relationship you have with yourself, right? In order to evolve and become the version that you were made to be, right? Step into the season that you're meant to be in, right? And that's what it means by it takes sacrifice. You have to be willing to make those sacrifices. It may mean sacrificing old habits and old ways, right? This season that you're in or you're trying to step into may need you to sacrifice old habits, old ways of thinking, right? Old spaces you used to navigate. Are you willing to do that for your growth, right? Are you willing to do that for your growth? Like I said, always take the role of a parent and a child. Think about the sacrifices your parents were willing to make for you to become successful, for you to grow, for you to go to that school or get that opportunity, right? Think of that as you. Are you willing to make those sacrifices for your inner child, for the development of your inner child, for your growth, right? Because remember, your inner child is here. It is you. It is a part of you. So, are you willing to make those sacrifices to help heal, to help grow, to help evolve into the person that you're meant to become, right? And it's not easy, right? It is not easy. And like we always say, we're always going to take the stance of progression over perfection. I said this last episode. It will come up all the time because I want this to be tattooed in your guys' mind. You are going to make mistakes and you are going to have times where maybe you allow the old habit or old way of thinking to win that moment, right? But it's about learning from every one of those experiences. And it's about giving yourself the grace to grow through that, right? It's not about being perfect. Sacrifice does not require perfection, but it does require commitment and consistency. It does require that, right? But you don't have to be perfect to be consistent, and you don't have to be perfect to be committed, right? But you have to be willing to show up every single day. And that's what sacrifice requires. Are you willing to sacrifice the old ways of being, the old ways of living, to step into what is for you? And that's a real conversation you have to have with yourself. And that's why it's so important to really start to cultivate and develop the relationship you have with yourself. Because you're not going to want to sacrifice for somebody you don't care about, right? You're not going to want to sacrifice for somebody you don't care about. But when you really, really care for somebody or something, you'll be willing to go that extra mile for that thing. So when you really, really genuinely start to love yourself and care for yourself, build up your self-respect, you're going to be willing to sacrifice certain things in order to do what is best for you. Come on. That is a beautiful card. I will show you guys one more time. It's beautiful. Hope you guys can see that. It is beautiful. Man, these cards are amazing. Let me know if I should make cards like this for WAGOS, for the podcast, right? With some designs and stuff like that. Or should we just keep it simple and put stuff on the front and back? But this has really inspired me because, you know, we could really get into our bag. You feel me? I feel like just off of these podcasts alone, we could create these cards. Oh. Ooh, this card right here, I want to just grab and read it. But we're going to stick to what we've been doing. We're going to stick to what we've been doing, which is the shuffle and the pick a random, because It's 2 for 2 right now, right? We might do 1 or 2 more and then we'll flip to the book. We might do 1 or 2 more and then we'll flip to the book. Okay. See what we got. See what you guys are feeling. Feel like somebody's choosing this one, all the oddball out all the way over here. Let's see what we got. See what we got. This is fun. I like this. See, I told y'all this podcast is going to be a lot more chill, relaxed. We're just going to enjoy this, enjoy our company. Right? We're going to enjoy our own presence and the presence of this community. 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Come on, man. It's 3 for 3 and it's so aligned. It's not like they're sporadic. These are aligned. What is for me, I let it be. Whatever isn't, I set it free. Come on, man. Look at the front. That's beautiful. Heinz did this thing with these cards. There is a window of opportunity when you allow what is for you to be. There is a window of opportunity when you allow what isn't to be free. That is a beautiful reminder. There's always an opportunity. There's an opportunity in letting go, and there's an opportunity in stepping in to what is for you. Come on. Come on. Come on, man. Come on. And this is why it's so important to really create a vision of the person in the life that you want to live, right? The emotions that you want to embody, how you want to feel on an everyday basis, because that's going to help you to navigate what is for you and what isn't, right? When you can have a tangible physical thing that you can look at, right? You're looking at the physical attributes of the life you want, and then you're looking at the emotional aspects of the life that you want. Now, when you navigate your everyday life, you get to ask yourself, does this thing that I'm about to do or this thing that I'm holding on to, does it align with this vision that I have for my life? And if it doesn't, maybe it's time to set that thing free. Maybe it's time to set that thing free, right? And like I said, do not fall into the illusion that when you're letting go that you're losing something. But no, you're gaining the things that are for you when you let go of what isn't. So understand you always have an opportunity. You always have an opportunity. And on this journey of growth, you're constantly going to have to let go and step into the new, right? Think of a kid who grows up, right? And they get bigger, they mature, they go through puberty, right? Imagine if they tried to attach themselves to every single shoe size that they grew through, right? Man, I'm at a 7.5 now, but I want to stay here. I want to stay here. But your foot is getting bigger, bro. You have to be able to step out of that 7.5 and step into that 8, right? But if you're so attached to keeping the shoe that's a 7.5, right? And you always want to stay stuck in that shoe, you're going to just cause more resistance. Now your feet are going to start hurting just because you're so attached to this thing. But you don't even realize that when you're just willing to let it go and you step out, you got a multitude of different shoes waiting for you in new sizes. It's a beautiful thing. And that's the analogy for life. So often as we grow, when things come in, we want to attach ourselves to them, to those things, right? A lot of it comes from us attaching our identity to those things, right? So now, when it's time to step into new seasons or new things or new opportunities or new relationships, it's very, very hard to do so because a lot of times stepping into something new requires you to let go of what is. And that's not an easy thing to do. But when you understand that it's a part of the process and you understand where you're going, you'll be willing to let go, right? You'll really be willing to let go. And all it takes is a few times of you letting go and stepping into something better for you to understand that, hey, letting go isn't a bad thing. It's actually creating room for the right things to come in, for me to step into the right things that are aligned with this season that I'm in now, right? With the growth that I'm moving into. Come on. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. One more. We'll do one more card. I love these cards. Okay, one more. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on, y'all. Come on, let's do it. Which one we gonna do? So, all right, we just did the eyeball out on that side. We'll do the eyeball out on this side. We'll do one all the way over here. Come on. See what we got, man. And I like that we got a few different colors, too. This one says, when you lead with love, you leave with love. Come on. Lead with love in all that you do. Your forgiveness, compassion, love, and empathy. It's your superpower. When you lead with love, no matter what happens, no matter what they did, you still leave with love. You leave with your power. That's beautiful. So this is the front of the card. This is the back of the card. That's beautiful. Lead with love in everything that you do. And what does that mean? Lead with your truth in everything that you do. Lead with your highest, most authentic self in everything that you do. Now, here's the thing about love. Love does not require people to reciprocate that, right? That's not why you lead with love. You don't lead with love in order to get it reciprocated, in order to get people to love you back. No, you do it because that's what's true to you. That's what's aligned with your highest self. That's where your power comes from. When you tap into the spirit, you tap into the energy of love and authenticity, and you lead with that in everything that you do, that's where empowerment comes from. And now, no matter what people do to you or what happens to you, you can always leave or step out of those experiences or relationships rooted in that love, in that authenticity, right? And that's a beautiful thing. No matter what they do, no matter what happens to you, lead and leave with love, because that is your power. When you understand that love is your power, it's going to help you to reframe when you go through certain experiences, right? Because if you don't lead with love, you're not leading with your power. And if you don't leave with love, you're leaving your power, right? And you don't ever want to give your power to an external circumstance, event, or relationship. You don't want to give your power away. You want to keep that power within yourself, not in a greedy way, but in a way that understands. That's how you are able to operate as your truest, most authentic self. You filling your cup over until it flows into other people, that's what keeping your power is. That's what leading with love is, right? That is what leading and leaving with love is, right? Simple but profound. Simple but profound. Let's move on to the, I'll show you guys the 4 cards before we go on to the next one. I don't know what it is. It might just be like me getting in my own head every single time. I always have moments through the podcast where my voice just starts to like crack or whatever. And it never happens when I'm not on the podcast. These are the 4 cards. So we had the first one, which was, we can't control what happens, but we can control how we respond. Beautiful. The second one, it takes sacrifice to have a deeper relationship with self. Beautiful. What is for me, I let it be. Whatever isn't, I set it free. Come on, man. Beautiful. And when you lead with love, you lead with love. Beautiful. 4 for 4. 4 for 4 like Wendy's. Even though I don't eat Wendy's, but we still going to use the analogy, man. We still going to use the analogy. Now, let's move into The Amazing Possibilities. It's a great book. Now, Matthew Kelly is I want to say he's a Catholic. And obviously, as you guys know, we're open to everybody on this podcast. We take life with a grain of salt. I am not Catholic, but this book has still been incredibly profound, right? You don't have to be Catholic to be open-minded. Come on now. All right, so I have a few that I starred that always really left a mark on me. Let me see one. I'm just going to find one. Oh, man, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Come on. It says, this is from July 19th, right, because it's every day. It says, image or light? That is the question. We tend to spend our lives dedicated to the image, to the material. The image represents the body. The light represents the spirit. Do you identify more with your body or with your spirit? The highest levels of living are experienced when we have an absolute disregard for the body beyond our basic needs and a complete adherence to the promptings of the divine spirit within us. It is then that we form our identity from the spirit within, when we let the sweet light within us shine. Most of us, however, are dedicated to the body, to the image. We see and value ourselves not in the term of the spirit, but in relation to the body. We find our identity through the body. We form and live by an image made up of physical and sensory perception. For people who don't know what he means by the body, he's talking about the ego, right? Because the ego is the body. That is your inner child. That is this physical reality, right? But the spirit is the thing that dwells within, right? It's the thing that comes from a place way greater than this physical reality, right? So, and then he poses the question, do you find your identity through your body or through your spirit? Are you dedicated to the image or to the light? The image is an illusion. The light is truth. A person who is completely dedicated to the light is capable of anything. That's beautiful. I mean, that is beautiful. Are you dedicated to the physical or are you dedicated to the spiritual? Right? And the beautiful thing about this is When you're rooted in the spirit is what allows you to navigate the physical in such a more aligned and authentic way, right? But so many people, they root their value, they root their identity in the things of the world, right? You know, what you attain, how much money you make, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, how many followers you have. That's the thing that we root our identity in. And that's a very, very shallow way to live life. It really is. But the beautiful thing about tapping into your spirit is that when you allow the light to work in you, it also works outside of you. That is what people see when they see you. They see your light, right? But when you're rooted in the ego, you're rooted in your physical, perception, in a sense, this physical realm, you're rooted in the material, you approach people from a place of insecurity because your security comes from the things you're trying to portray physically, right? But remember, it's not about what you attain, it's about who you become. It's not about what you can say, it's about how you make people feel, right? It's not about the amount of money you can make, it's about the amount of people you can impact. You see the difference between the image and the light, the physical and the spirit, right? But understand this, it's not about totally neglecting your ego and just throwing it into the trash. No, because your ego, like we said, is what allows us to navigate this physical realm. We just want to be guided by the spirit. That's the key. We want to be guided by the spirit in the physical, right? But a lot of people live in the physical, only operating in the physical. There is no connection to that inner guide, to that higher power, right? But when you tap into that, man, this physical experience becomes so much more fulfilling because now you're not focused on external validation. You're focused on external service, external love, external connection. Not external attachment, but external connection, right? Not external validation, but external fulfillment, right? Not external gain, but rather external gratitude. And I don't even know, I've never even heard of that concept before, but it sounds right and I'm feeling it, right? Because remember, it's not always what somebody says, it's how they make you feel. You feel me? So reading that just made me feel uplifted. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Let's do another one. I'm trying to find the ones that I starred because, I've starred a few. Oh, I love this. Do you ever have the sense that something is missing in your life? We all do from time to time. Most people push it aside fairly quickly because we are afraid of where it might lead. But we really should pay a little bit more attention to our dissatisfaction. It's okay to be dissatisfied. Being dissatisfied and pretending we are not is the kind of lie that leads to spiritual and physical illness. Whew. Our dissatisfaction is trying to lead us to something better or something different altogether. It is time to start listening to what God is saying through us, through our dissatisfaction. I want to encourage you to pay a little more attention to that sense that something is missing in your life. This quiet discontent is creating restlessness in you for a reason. God is trying to tell you something. That is beautiful. Your discontent is not a negative thing. It's actually because your higher self is urging you to do more of what's aligned, right? It's not about doing more physically. It's about doing more of what's aligned, right? Because remember, if you're living a life that is not true to you, you are going to feel discontent, right? You're never going to be truly satisfied, right? And this goes back to J. Cole's song, Love Yours. No such thing in a life that's better than yours, right? No such thing, no such thing. And then he said, there's always going to be a bigger house than the one you got. There's always going to be a faster car than the one you got, right? All that stuff, right? So if you try to find satisfaction in all of these things in the external world, you're always going to feel discontent. You're always going to feel dissatisfied, right? Because you're always going to be judging based off of what everybody else has, trying to get the next thing, right? But when you really, really tune into where is that discontent coming from? It's coming from a lack of alignment within yourself or a pull from your higher self saying, I want you to go in this direction. I have more for you over here, right? But we be so caught up and everything going on around us, that we never get in tune with that discontent. And we view that discontent as a negative thing, right? And we allow our ego to think that that discontent means we need to get more external things. But that discontent is really saying, hey, maybe you've been giving your energy to all the things that truly aren't you. And I want you to take that energy back and put it into the things that are you. Come on, man. Discontent is a beautiful thing. And God does talk to us through discontent, right? Because remember, you have a higher self. This is the concept of quantum physics and stuff like that, how, you know, the past, present, and future are all intertwined. It's a very deep concept. But think of it like this. Think of your higher self as being the future you, living the best possible scenario for you. And that version of yourself is constantly trying to get us to align ourselves with the path that will lead us there, right? So if you're doing things that are not aligned with you getting to that future self, to that best version of yourself, to that most authentic and highest version of yourself, then you're going to feel a sense of discontent, right? And that future self, that higher self, is putting it there because it wants you to start giving some attention to things that are aligned. It's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. And do not confuse discomfort with discontent, right? Because a lot of times when you start to do something new, it's going to bring discomfort. That is not discontent. Discontent is like that inner void that you feel, and even when you've been searching and chasing after all these external things and trying to gain all these external things or do all these things, right? But you still feel like there's this little void, this little hole inside of you that is not being full, right? That's what the discontent is. And sometimes you just got to take a pause and bring awareness to what things are you focusing on, right? And really ask yourself, are those things bringing you a sense of contentment and peace and alignment? And if they're not, maybe it's time to let them go and move in a new direction. Maybe it's time to take your energy back and start focusing on other things, right? Start focusing on other things. Let's do another one. We got to tap into this one. Oh, my seat just fell. It's all right. It says, from March 25th, it says, people don't fail because they want to fail. People don't go on diets to gain weight. People don't get married to get divorced. People don't join a gym and sign a 2-year contract to drop out 3 months later. Whether we are dealing with the area of health and well-being, relationships, finances, career, or spirituality, people want to advance. We have an enormous desire to grow and change and improve ourselves. So why don't we? What's the problem? Why is it that so many of us seem unable to transform resolutions into habits? The reason most of us fail to achieve real and sustainable change in our lives is because we focus too much on the desired outcome and not enough on the progress we are making. It is important to establish goals, but they can often seem overwhelming and impossible. If we can condition ourselves to focus on the progress we are making, our advance will encourage us to persevere in achieving our goals and dreams. It is when we lose sight of our progress that we become discouraged, and it is discouragement that often lands us back in our old self-defeating habits and self-destructive behaviors. That is beautiful. Like we always talk about so often, let's see, back up a little bit. So often you can get so caught up in the desired outcome, right? Where you skip over the process to get you there. You skip over the small steps that lead to that desired outcome. But when you're so fixated on the desired outcome, often it can become so overwhelming. And that overwhelming can discourage us. And that discouragement leads to us just saying, man, we just can't do it. That discouragement leads to us seeing this huge mountain rather than the one step right in front of us. And that's why it's so important to focus on the journey and not the destination, right? Yes, it's important to set goals, but then you need to backtrack from that goal and say, what are the steps, the day-to-day steps that can lead me to that goal, and just focus on those, right? Create the goal and then figure out the steps, the day-to-day steps, and then forget about the goal. Forget about the goal, because just through you going through the process of the day-to-day, moment by moment, step by step, I promise you're going to get to where you want to be. And a lot of times where you get to is so much better than what you thought you would have got to, right? The goal, right? That so often you surpass the goal tenfold just because you embraced the process so much and you got so consumed by the process that you just inevitably got to where you were meant to be. That's a beautiful thing. So don't get so caught up in the big change that you skip over the small steps to get there, right? I mentioned that in the last podcast too, right? But that's why systems are so important. That's why in the book Atomic Habits, he says systems are so much more important than goals, right? He says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. What does that mean? That means, yeah, you can have all these big goals and big dreams and big visions for your life, but if your day-to-day habits and steps do not align or are not sustainable or are not congruent, then you're always going to fall back to that baseline. You're always going to fall to the level of the process, right? Not rise to the level of the goal and the vision. Because if you don't change your day-to-day, but you just set goals, what do you expect to happen? It's not like the goals are just going to happen because you set them. No, you have to make the necessary changes in your system, in your day-to-day life, in the process, in order to start moving in the direction that is aligned with those goals. And so that's why so often it's important to set a goal and then to backtrack, right? Write down the steps, the day-to-day steps. What are the daily steps, the daily habits, the daily things that are aligned with that goal? And then you forget the goal and you just say, I am going to focus every single day on those daily steps, on doing those daily steps to the best of my ability. That is it. And is every day going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But you just continue to focus one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. And then eventually you look up and guess where you are? Right where you want to be, right where you were trying to get to. And it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. I think we're going to save the journal for another time because honestly, that's where I'm at today. I'm not going to lie. That is where I'm at today. It's just one of those times, it's just one of those times where, and I'm not even going to lie. I even think this last week, I didn't do the best job of prioritizing my night routine. I was really staying up past the time I like to go to bed to keep working on some things, and I was sacrificing sleep. But sleep is so important, y'all. Sleep is so important because it's in moments like this where you slowly feel the tiredness catch up to you on a Saturday where you just had a really, long week and you might have not got as much sleep and your body's like, hold on, man. Hold on. Don't overdo yourself now. Now, it's not to take away from anything that we did. I needed that episode. I really did. But I'm not even going to force the journal. We'll save the journal for another time. And that in itself could be a whole episode about just reflecting on, my past experiences and seeing some of the dark moments because I got some very vulnerable things in that journal. So we'll save that. But, yeah, man, so very chill, very relaxed episode. We're going to keep taking it day by day, moment by moment. I have an episode coming out this week also with a guy named Imad Rahim. Really, really successful and amazing guy. He has a lot of insight, especially for young people. He's about in his 40s now, so he's done a lot in his career, and I think it's important to keep bringing people on who can shine light on, some insights and wisdom that people, in their 20s or even 30s can really take from, right? But our podcast is not limited to any age group. Anybody can listen. Anybody could be a part of the community. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. That is going to do it for this episode. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all more than y'all know. I really enjoyed the vibe and peace of this episode. I hope you guys did too. But most importantly, remember to take everything with a grain of salt. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I am currently working on an ebook. I'm super excited about that. It's all about understanding how your emotional state creates your physical reality and the steps to kind of shifting that. So I'm really excited for you guys to get that when it's out. But like I said, we're just going to keep taking it day by day and embracing the journey. So I love y'all, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. We gone.